next steps, what we want you to do, instead of continuing with this particular node, just keep this there for now. Just open your Excel, just create a new document, and save it to a particular location, a new folder location, call this E1. Write file and save that. So this is just an empty shell for you to write information into. We can change the name here, change it to spaces, or whatever you like. And we'll just go and save that, close this document. So what we do next is, since we've saved that particular file, we want to feed in each of these input connection points. And since we've already got our file, let's go to file path, type in file path, and then you can find the file path node here. So you can pre-connect that. Let's browse to the location we have, E1, and then select the file. So now it's set up to write everything you export into this particular file. So the sheet name, as you remember, we've called it spaces. It takes in string. So let's just look for the string node. Just connect that here, and then we'll type in spaces. Make sure you've got the correct capital letters inside the string node. It is case sensitive, so bear that in mind. For number, let's go to numbers. We'll just keep it as 0 for both. So we want to start in the upper leftmost corner. I'll show you this later, but we'll plug it in anyway a bit later. So by default it's set to false. Here is also set to false, but we'll connect it here, so it gives us the flexibility later on to switch between the two. So the last input that we've got to fill in is the data. So we've set this up for the information to fall into. Now it's to decide what kind of information we want to place into this particular Excel document. You can pick any kind of information, but today we'll look at spaces, MEP spaces. So in order to do this, one of the most common nodes that you probably end up using is called get categories or categories. Just zoom out a bit so you can see what we're doing. And then we can pre-select MEP spaces. So just go down, or it might not be MEP spaces, it might just be called spaces. Here we are, spaces. So you've selected the category you want. Now you want to pick up the elements belonging to that category. So let's go do that. Get elements of category. Here we are. Get all elements of category spaces. belonging to this particular model. So we're still using the MEP advanced sample model. If not, I've included it in the packages and you can download it from there. Just to reiterate, it's category to category, otherwise it will not work, and then it will give an output of elements. So what do we want to do with the elements? So once you've filtered out all the elements, the next thing you want to do, in our case, is to pick out one of the properties. Property we want to pick out is the MEP space name. MEP space name, space number, and space area. So let's pick out those three properties. In order to do that, you have to pull out the properties from within the filtered elements. So let's go to a very common node that most Dynamo users will be using. It's called get parameter value by name. Essentially, it takes the elements, so element to element again, and then now this node has a connection to the pre-selected elements here. You can now decide what property from the space elements you want to extract. So all the parameter names in Revit are generally in string. So if we just go back into the model, all these parameters here can be recognized as string, and then therefore you can pull them out as a string as well. So the ones we're after is space name. So let's first put down the string node, connect this, and then we want to take the name. So the parameter name here is called name. Let's turn on this show run preview. And if I just quickly run this, you can see how the code is developed so far. So let's have a go at that. So it's very quick, and this is the benefit of Dynamo, as you say. You can see the results very quickly. So here it's already picked out 89 spaces in the whole project, and here it's picked out all the names belonging to those 89 elements. Let's pick up the other parameters. So we mentioned that we also want the space number and the space area. So let's just copy these, paste them down here, paste another one, there you have it. And of course rename it, otherwise you'll extract the same information 3 times. So we want the number and also the area. If in doubt, you can go back into the model and check on the parameter naming. So let's just run these three again, just so you can see the information populate. So here you've got the naming, and you've got the respective numbers, space numbers, and the area, all extracted from the model. So what do you want to do? How do you get these three bits of information into the Excel document? So the next thing you need to do is to combine the lists. So at the moment, if you did this, you would only export one list. So if I just run this, I can show you what I mean. So you've only exported the names, but we don't want that. So let's just close this. You've got three lists, but you need to merge them together. So let's combine the lists. You do that under list.create. If you just type that in. Create three placeholders for it. And connect the dots. So we'll run that again. It is now one large list with three sublists. So if I just collapse them all. So the 0 list is the names, 1 list is the number, and 2 list is the area. If I plug this, now let me show you. If I plug this into here, and run it, let's see what happens. You see here there's two things that are wrong with it. It's recognized or it's planted the information or as headings, essentially, or in a column orientation. And the previous information here remains. The first time we written the information is still there. And the only three cells that have been overridden are these three. That's because of the override option being set to false. If I go back and just show you, just repeat that. If we just turn on the true and run it again, you can see all the information is gone, because when you set it to true, the first thing it does is it wipes out all the information in that particular tab and then writes the information. It depends on what your use case is. You might want to retain some of the information and just populate certain columns or certain rows. But if you want a fresh override, then of course by all means use the true option.